And I just want to welcome you all. So, hello, I am doing video two different places. So, if you guys see my face turning this way, I'm trying to make sure everyone see me. So, I want to welcome you to my book review. And my name is Dawn Saunders, and some of you may know me from Happy Harvest Ministry, where I also am CEO and founder of that ministry. And spring from that is our Happy Harvest Book Club, which is also for our harvest readers. So there might not be much activities that's going on, but basically we try to read a book a month. And in between, if you have recommendations of book, I pretty much read maybe about 5 books, but I try to do discussion on the book of the month and the following month. So for April book, we're reviewing in May. May, we will be reviewing in June and so forth. So that gives you a time. And normally we do our reviews the first Tuesday by 7:30 of the month. And I may have to change the date a little bit because I find that 7 o'clock is a little bit stretching. So forgive me, those of you who were tuning in for 7 o'clock and I wasn't there. I know although it's working from home and doing all of that, it seems like work is never done. So I had to get the kids fed and hurry. And trust me, I was hurrying to get here to do this. I'm excited. I'm not going to be before you too long because I just want to do a quick introduction to the book and do some little review and ask questions. Hopefully you guys are tuning in and watching, and tag some of your friends in, tag some of your friends and family in so we can get some people to check in and see what we're doing. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tune in and, get interactive with the discussion. So basically right now, it's a little difficult because I'm on my phone and I'm trying to navigate here and there. But with that being said, so guess what we have? We have the book for April. This is the April book that we read, and The Girl with the Louding Voice. The Louding Voice. So when you see this book, it is pretty and it's tempting because I like colors. So it has the red and the purple. So first of all, that was a steal for me just because of the book and the colors on the book. And then the name drew my attention, and I was curious because, lately I've been reading Black authors or African American authors, or just African authors, I guess, because it's not just only American. So I would say authors of color, hope that's not offensive, but this is the book that we've read. So, it was really a good book. So I'm just going to read the flap and give you the beginning portion of what it's about. And this book, the main character in the book's name was Aduni, and she's a 14-year-old Nigerian girl who knows what she wants, and she basically wants an education. And so with some of it, I'm paraphrasing. So, and she was the only daughter of a broke father. I mean, that was emphasis, right? She is a valuable commodity. Hey, Pauline, thanks for joining. The author is Abby Derry. I know I'm doing okay. Abby Derry. So for those of you who are on Instagram, it's Abby Derry. Okay. And when I tell you it was a good book, I listened to it and I read it. So I did 2 forms of reading. Some people say audio is not reading, but who cares? I mean, I do both. But anyway, she the book is really good, and some things I was a little familiar with. Let me finish reading and then we'll go into, my thoughts, and you can tell me. So she's the only daughter of a broke father, and she is a valuable commodity. She was removed from school and sold as a third wife, interesting, to an old man. Adoni finds that her life amounts to this: 4 goats, 2 bags of rice, some chickens, and a new TV. And that's basically her diary, what her father paid. And when unspeakable tragedy swiftly strikes in her new home, she is secretly sold as a domestic servant to a household in the wealthy enclaves of Lagos, where no one will talk about the strange disappearance of her predecessor, Rebecca. No one but Adoni. As a yielding daughter, a subservient wife, and a powerless servant, Adoni is repeatedly told that she is nothing. Can you imagine just being told that you are nothing, and in your head or your mind, your frame, your setting, you are valuable, and no matter what others say, you are valuable because it first here. That's the way you look at yourself, despite what other people says. She is determined to, but it says, but Adoni won't be silent. She is determined to find her voice in a whisper, in a song, in broken English, until she can speak for herself. And for the girls like Rebecca who came before, and for all the girls who will follow. So she found that voice. She wanted to speak to the people who she met were in that grave position, and she wanted a voice to help bring them out of that. Featuring a remarkable, unforgettable heroine, Abby Derry's incredible debut novel is a heartbreaking coming of age story that vividly captures a young woman's courageous struggle for the right to choose her own future. And that's pretty much the synopsis of the story of the book. And, let's dig into the book. So some of you may watch this later. So welcome if you're watching now. If you're watching later, welcome. So with Adoni, the main character, and the lady that she was talking about is Rebecca. And then there's so many different characters in the book. And the thing about let me just say first, like I was mentioning, for those of you who are just joining, the book that captured me, first is the book, the colors, the title of the book, because I know I have a big mouth, and I was curious about when it says the Louding voice. So I was actually curious about that. And then when I read the synopsis of what it was, I was also curious because, in a society where you have to be, walking on eggshells or keep quiet to voice your opinion. And then sometimes people think you should always, keep silent and shouldn't always say anything. I was curious about her life and and I believe she overcame before I even read the book. So I wanted to see the struggles that she went through and how she was able to, feature that Louding voice, how that voice became loud enough to even be heard in a whisper. So number one, of course, the character reading the dialect of the book. There were dialects in the book. I was a little bit more familiar than most languages because I am familiar with the Nigerians and the dialect, but I'm not familiar with the actual not so much when they talk the dialect, it's a little similar to my language, but to my like dialect, but it's deeper. But their language, their main language, I'm not able to speak that. So there was some of it in there, but not a lot. So I felt at home reading this book. I really did. And I also, it's even emphasis when you read the book on when you listen to the book, because the person who narrates the book is speaking in the dialect. So that was really interesting. So it really made me want to listen, because it's almost like I was listening to or watching a movie, because I created my own vision of the imagery of what the book was reading about. So that's first and foremost for me. It was not a very long book. You could have, and here's a picture of the author. I think she's real pretty. There she is right there. That's Abby Dari. And, I think she's beautiful. She has short hair like myself, nice haircut. And I think, just knowing is that they said about Abby, she grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, before she moved to the UK more than 18 years ago. And she holds degrees in law, project management, and creative writing. And now she lives in Essex with her husband and her 2 daughters, who inspired her to write her debut novel. And I think, that was really nice, because the inspiration really came out of her to write this beautiful novel. And like I said, so those are the features for me. My favorite author, who is your favorite character in the book? If you've read it or when you read it, who is your favorite character? So my favorite character in the book, the one I like best, of course, is the main character. I like Adoni. I like Adoni, and I also like the cook, So there was a cook when she moved to the there was a cook when she moved to the sorry about that. There was a cook when she moved to the last place where she was sold. And I like him because he helped inspired her. He was funny too. Adoni is really funny, but in her sense, she's just talking natural. But a lot of things that she says to me, is funny. And then not having the understanding of people, because she didn't have education. She had only primary school education. She wanted to be a teacher. She liked teaching. So just a little bit about her. And basically in the synopsis explain what she is. She has a high esteem of ambition. She wants to do something good in the earth. She wants to live a life that can help people. She likes to teach the children, all the children in her village when she was growing up, when she lived there. She wants to do more to see the children have an education. She had to drop out, of course, because when her mom died, who was basically the love of her life, her best friend. And when her mom died, her dad couldn't pay their rent and their bills. So he's tried to find jobs and nothing was working. And his way of coming out of that was to sell her basically off to this old man who was already married to two young. The first marriage he was married to was an older lady, his age, of course. The second one was young as Adoni. Adoni was 14, 15 years old when she sold off to get married, virgin, everything. She's never, been touched. And she tried so many things. She wanted to run away. She thought of all sorts of things, but then she couldn't. She had a brother who she loved dearly, and she taught him how to read, and she would cook for him and, all of that. So she really cared about her brother. So she decided she was going to go on and go. When she got there, the abuse started because the oldest wife was not happy at all with her. It's she's like, I don't even want to be here, and she would make attempts to, ill treat her. And then the second wife was now a 20-year-old, so she's been there for 5 years, and basically her childhood, or the need for her to be there, was even worse than Adoni. But she stayed there, end up having children for him. I think she altogether was 4. She was pregnant with one, and that's Rebecca. I liked Rebecca too. So those were like I had 4 favorites, but of course, Adoni's number 1. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'll reverse. Adoni's number 1, then Rebecca. I liked Rebecca because Rebecca was number 2. I liked the cook, and then I also liked the lady in the end who helped her to get to where she's going. So that's all I'm gonna say about that for now. So going back to Adoni's childhood and getting over to the new husband, who was way older than her. He could be her father, and as she mentioned, he was not. Some of us are God fearing and some of us are God scaring. So, she was not too happy about this man. And when it was the night for her to actually break her virginity, she was, what is this? It didn't go well for her. The man drank and wanted to make sure he did that with her every night because he wanted her to have a boy child. And the older woman still have not had a boy. The second one still has not had a boy. So he hadn't had a boy child. The second one was having a boy, but later on we found out she was pregnant. And these are spoilers. So if you're watching and listening, I hope you read the book. And if you haven't read it, you may want to, think about it, because I'm giving everything pretty much that I wanted to talk about with the book. So she ended up having, I don't see anyone. Pauline, are you still there? She wanted to make sure he had a boy child. So she was still cheating with her boyfriend from school. And it turned out she got pregnant and it was a boy. So when she was getting ready to deliver the baby, oh, hey, Pauline, good, thank you, you're there. And say hello, some of you with, yeah, I don't see anyone yet on thing, but that's okay. So she basically, Rebecca was pregnant for her ex-boyfriend. So the husband didn't know. So the story was really all about, based off of her life, yes, but what she did to get herself mixed up in a situation that caused her to run. So she was favored by the second wife, and the second wife liked her, was teaching her, the tricks and the ways of how to behave in the house so the husband won't beat her, because he hits them. And, she was just basically, following her and really helping. So they became very close. So when she had to go to see the doctor, she basically wanted the man who she got pregnant for to know. So Adoni found this out while she was over on the trip trying to get her, because now she's in labor, and Adoni's like, what did I do? Why did I volunteer to come with her? Because she said she was going to see a woman because she thinks something is wrong with the baby. So she wanted to, go and see how they can, fix the problem. Apparently, when she got there, she sent up to this house with the man, and the man came down and he said that, he was going to meet them over to the village where she would go and wash. And I guess it's supposed to be cleansing wash that would take away or help the baby to survive, that sort of thing. Well, on the way there, she was really crying. I guess labor was, imminent, and she was crying. And then all of a sudden, he said, I'll be back. I'm going to get something. Well, guess what? He never came back. So before she can even do anything, he the Rebecca eventually died. Oh my goodness, how is she going to explain this? So she left Rebecca there and she went back to the house that she found this man. And this lady came to the door, big and pregnant. And she's explaining, he had a long name, Manusa or something like that, but she was explaining that you need to call him, he need to come out. And the lady was like, are you crazy, are you mad, there's nobody here by that name, and so forth. And she was like, I know I'm not losing my mind. And you know, one of their culture is, if people say thief, thief, then the whole village will come out, grab you, and burn you. And she didn't want to get caught up in that, because the lady was threatening her, telling her, hey, you better leave before I have to say, you know, you're here, you're thief, you're a thief. And finally she ended up leaving, but she screamed, she cried, and she tried, you know, to figure out what to do. She didn't know. There were two people had passed by and saw her, so she was already seen with this lady. So she was freaking out. So she finally went back to her father's house, and she told him what happened. He said he has to go to the elders so they can figure out what they have to do with her. They need to get the girl's body so the family can know, and you know, all sorts of things. So what she did, she wrapped herself up, prepared herself, and she took off and she ran away. So that's where the gist of her past was. And then the second portion of the story is where she, you know, met up with her mother's friend, who basically got her brother to help her. Turned out he was just basically trading off young women to the rich workers, and they are abused. They, you know, they don't get paid, because the guy get the salary every month, and then he would say, I'm coming back. So he was not paying them. And so while she was here at this rich lady's house, she was a mean goat. She was very mean. She was very obese, and she beat Adeni all the time. She didn't have conversation. Adeni was very overt in expressing herself, and she didn't want to hear it, or you know, right away she would beat her. So she beat her to the point where she would have bruises, marks, cuts. One time she hit her so hard in the head, she knocked her out bleeding, ended up in the hospital, and all sorts of abuse that she went through living for this woman. She not just only abused her with her own physical hand, she abused her with the workload. She would have to get up at 4 a.m. and she would have to work until 11 p.m. every day. She had to mop the kitchen, sweep outside, clean this, clean that. And it's a big house. And her work was never done until midnight. And it was, so she would always be tired. She had nothing else. But in the midst of that, while she was cleaning, she found the library. And you know, she was fascinated with the dictionary, and she started learning to read, and she learned about Nigeria, the culture. She learned how they waste a lot of money. She learned all sorts of things about the culture. The madam who she worked for had a store. She had sold the finest material. You know, she was well off. The husband of the madam, he was a bum. His status was riding on her wealth, and he tried to rape Adonis about 2 or 3 times. The girl that was living there, there was a girl living there that it was Rebecca. The other lady wasn't Rebecca. I can't remember the other lady's name, but the one that died. But Rebecca was living there, and she was the one that was doing she was the one that did the housekeeping, but then she disappeared, and so that they had to hire Adoni. Adoni found some things and heard some things, and everybody was on the hush hush. Nobody wanted to explain what happened to Rebecca. And she found a navel string that she said, this is not something that normally just comes off and just sits around. So she did, like, she was also like a little detective. So she was trying to figure out what happened to this lady. She went through trying to protect herself, asked for a latch to bar her door because the man was always trying to, get to her. She finally overcame until she had to help the cook take some food into the living room when she calls her Big Madam, when Big Madam was entertaining. And one lady, they all in there was talking and calling her stupid and, just talking down to her. And this one lady in particular was asking her questions. And, she was scared to answer because she was already warned by Big Madam, don't open your mouth, don't say anything. And she had to respect the woman. So she found that Madam must have saw her talking and called her and hit her so hard she knocked her out. And that's when the lady stayed there with her until she awoke. And from that day, she and that lady became friends. They secretly would, the lady lived close to her, but she was married to a doctor and she didn't have any children. They became very friendly. She told her, what she wanted to do. The cook told her to enter into a competition so she can get into college. She had to write an essay, and she didn't know how she was going to do it, but she kind of took a chance, and I asked the lady to help her. And when Big Madam left, to go on a trip or somewhere, the lady helped her for like 2 months working on the essay. And of course, it was a struggle. She was fighting demons, and the demon was right there in that house, the husband. And it was just a lot that she had to go through trying to get to where she needed to. And, she finally, I'm just wrapping up the very end. She finally found out what happened to the girl. Big Madam must have sent that woman away because the husband got her pregnant and they had a relationship, and she told him that he told her he was leaving Big Madam for her. That was not going to happen. And Big Madam paid her off and tell her, don't ever come back. So she disappeared. And that's how she found out about that. Then she also found out, they had one big fight because the Big Madam found out the husband was cheating with her good friend. Then, so that really messed her up. And so everything started unraveling. And finally, she was able to, get away. The lady was able to release her and so forth. And that's how those things ended. She did her essay and she got accepted into the school, and she moved away with the lady next door. And she talked about her life, but it ended there. So what I didn't like about the story, what did you like and what you didn't like? I didn't like the ending because it never talked about her going back, or if she was freed. I'm sure she has, because the reason why I thought that would have bring some closure to that, because she stayed worried all the time about, she couldn't really express where she came from. She couldn't really talk much about that situation because of the exchange, and she ran away. And I just really thought maybe she could have find a way to go back and free herself, because she really didn't have any coverage. And then the lady also taught her about Facebook, and she was excited. So I think maybe eventually she did search and found the name of the guy, and so forth and so forth. But because I think he would have, not I think, he was the only one that knew she was pregnant for him, and she didn't kill him. But he left and he disappeared, because more than likely in their culture he would have been burned, because he committed adultery with another man's wife. So it was just a whole lot of loose end I felt like didn't get tied up. So that was one of my things. So what is your favorite thing? What is your favorite character that you like about the book? And what is the specific thing that you liked about that character? For me, again, my favorite is Adonai. I like her determination. I like her humor. I like the ambitious mind. I like her confidence in who she is. I really admire her. I didn't see, even in the hardship of all the things she had to go through, she remained strong. She cries, yes, because she wants her mom. She was a little girl. She had her weak moments, but it was in the midst of the dark room and the dark areas where she would cry. But she kept her strength in determining that she was going to be a voice. She wanted a voice. And that was the biggest thing I like about her. The other character that died, what I like is that she took on Adoni as a mentee. And she guided her throughout her difficult time, throughout this strange place that she lives now. She's away from her father, away from her mother, and that's all she knew. Then here now she has to be a wife at 14 years old. I think it was 14 or 15. But that, either way, she was still a baby. She was a virgin. She didn't know what that stuff was. She would say that he was trying to, penetrate her with. And I think that was the scariest part. But that lady who helped her, she was 20 years old. She herself was just a baby. But I liked her, her genuinity. I liked how she cared and wanted someone else to. She was giving her the rings of the rope her in, so she doesn't have to go through what she did. Because the other first wife hated her. She said they fought every day. And even while she was pregnant, she was fighting with that lady, and that lady was trying to work all kind of voodoo and different bewitching things on her. But I would read that book again. I don't normally read one book too often, but there's some that you'll find that I would read again. But it was just a really, really good book. So I would recommend it and I would read it again. The feelings that came out of this book for me, it empowered me. It empowered me to see that, because I went through hardship myself. I went through, trying to wash all these clothes and with my hands, just as she was. And I went through when my mom was gone. Her mom died, but my mom was gone. I went through hardship where I was beat and abused, So I went through some of that. So the feelings that came out, the feelings that evoked out of me, was pain. I felt her pain. I felt her emotion. I felt her tears, when she cried, because I was there, I was there. And even in the midst of my pain, even when I moved to the States, I still went through some things. And there was people that, God put in my path to help me, to push me. And, those things reminded me of that, So, I really think this was a good read. I'm going to leave it there, and I give this book for real a 4. Of course, I didn't like the ending, so it wasn't perfect. But I would recommend this book totally. I would recommend the read, and read with, read with your eyes and hear with your ears what the book is saying to you. What is she, trying to bring to life? And whatever it was she did, she brought it to life. Although it was a fiction, it was something that you can attribute to your own life and see where you can make a difference. What voice that you have, even in the whisper, of your life, you still have a voice. And the voice is keep doing so you can get to that louding voice. So that's my take for you all tonight on that. The next book that we're reading, I have it on my phone. I'm so sorry. And I didn't get to upload it, but it is, the book is called Glass to Stone. It's a really good book. I was actually trying to upload it before we started, but forgive me. But it's Glass to Stone, and it's, I'll tell you who the book is by. It's a compilation of, different authors, but the one who really wrote it is Ayanna Mills Gallo. She is a really good author. She writes books, and she has best-selling books author. She's a best-selling author, but it's From Glass to Stone, and it's 10 transformational stories of resilience. And one of the author in there is one of my spiritual sister, Chidima Anusium. So she is in this book, and that's her authory of what she wrote. And when I tell you, this book has, it's another empowering book, because in our life right now, we need empowerment. We need, information that's going to uplift us. We need, even with books that you read, you read because it's something you like to do. So you may get some things that make you cry because of what the character might be facing or going through. But, in the end result, it's like, okay, it leaves a hanger, or it ends good, or it ends bad, which just leads you to find you another book and so forth. But I want you to, just read with your eyes, hear with your ears, and feel the book. Get out of it what you can that can be an asset to your life. That something in that book you will find, even if it's a negative action, you can turn it to positive by saying, hey, I am going to do my best not to fall into that negative situation. If it's conversation that's just, not what you want to hear, you can say, I am not going to be part of that. So everything in life that you find that we may face, go through, or dealt with, you have to be the one to be in power to turn it around for your good, because God has given us the authority to do so. So that's my story for tonight. That's my review of that book. The discussion would have been more if we had more people to tune in. I sent out my information. I would really like people to start tuning in and, get in onto the book, and we have some discussion. And also, if you have some recommendations for books that we can read, even in between, we can still read other books, and we can chat about them if you want to. I have a WhatsApp group for the Harvest Read. I have a Facebook, Happy Harvest Read, so you can join us. I'm on Instagram, so you can join in with the conversation and talk about the books that you're reading and what you've read and so forth. I'd love to hear from you, and I just want to wish you well and have a good night. And one announcement is Happy Harvest Ministry. We're doing our prayer intercessory team, which is called Harvest Eagles Soaring Prayer. And we have been doing a phenomenal job. So we're inviting you to we have a monthly prayer intercession. If you have family you want prayer for, whether it is sickness, disease, finances, marriages, children, we're going to do a mass prayer session on Saturday at 6 p.m. We're going to have different prayer intercessors going to be praying, and we're going to be interceding, standing in the gap for a lot of the things that we're facing in our lives right now and in the nation. So we want to be prayerful. It's never too much to pray. It's never too much to pray. So I bless God for you all. And I thank you for listening and joining in. And I wish that you will share, share, share. God bless you. Have a good night. I love you all. I'll see you next month for our next book, which is From Glass to Stone. Bye-bye.